Hello, good afternoon, ladies. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are all having a good week and surviving whatever weather's going on where you are. I know for us, we have super cold temperatures below zero. And I think I posted a question in the group earlier this week about that. I know some of you have been experiencing that as well. So hopefully everyone is doing well with no pipes broken or anything like that. And I'm excited to dive into this part of my rebrand today because I think this is really fun and it's really where we get to the visual roadmap setting of the brand and what that looks like moving forward. And so this is, like I said, this is part of a series that I'm doing where I'm rebranding my own business. I'm going to check in and make sure we're showing up with in the group here and that you guys can all see this. So yeah, let me know if you're watching on replay, if you're say hashtag replay, if you are joining me live, say hi, let me know where you're watching from. I'm just going to make sure I can see your comments over here. And with that, we'll dive in. So I know, visual style can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So for instance, when we say things like elegant and luxury, that can mean something to one person, and then to someone else, it can be entirely different. So today I'm really sharing the process of how to create that visual inspiration for my brand. It's really helpful when we have some images to look at rather than just words and descriptions about what I'm going for, but actually the things that show where the direction in the brand is going in terms of style. If you don't know me, my name is Allie, and I'm a brand and website designer. I work with women's service providers, and I am really passionate about creating these marketing materials for women that really work to grow their business, that help them springboard from whatever level they are to the next and start attracting their dream clients. So I believe that, strategy has a lot to do with making your brand effective. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today. And I have last week as well. But again, say hi if you're here or watching later. This is part 3. So we started a couple weeks ago with my own brand audit, where I took a look at what I have going now, what I've already created, and then second week was all about brand strategy, diving into my target market, my messaging, competitor research, things like that, that really make your brand distinctive and stand out to a particular group. So if you missed those and you want the replay on either one, say audit for the audit or strategy for the brand strategy session, and I can tag you in those replays. The reason that I'm doing this is that I started my business 7 years ago, and very different then when that's how it goes, right? When you start out, you usually start out by serving anyone and everyone. I was just working to get my traction in my business, create something from scratch, get really good at my skill. And now 7 years later, I have a much clearer picture of my target market, what they struggle with, what they need. And I've also gotten more specialized and better at what I do. And so I am to the point where I really want my brand to reflect that, to stand out to that particular group. So it was time. 7 years in, this month is my business anniversary. So I wanted to celebrate with a rebrand, and I thought it would be fun to take you all with me. I think that there's some inspiration you can get here. You can get a clearer picture of what that process could be for you, and maybe spark some ideas for your own brand. So just to review last week, we defined my target market. So my target market is women service providers who've been in business for a little while. Maybe they have some revenue in their business and they're ready to now elevate and scale their business to that next level. They know they need that strategic website and brand to match. Maybe they DIY'd it from the beginning, or kind of didn't really know how to get started then. And so now things have changed. They've gotten more solid on their target market, on what they do. They're really driven. They know that they are their own best investment. Their time is valuable, and they're ready to start outsourcing things. I think when we all start businesses, a lot of us are in that DIY mode of doing everything on our own. We spend a lot of time doing that stuff. And then after you've been in business for a while, you start realizing that your time is so valuable. And you're going to move faster if you start outsourcing the things that aren't in your zone of genius. And so that's where my dream client is. That doesn't mean I never help anybody outside of that phase. I work with businesses at different times and for different reasons, but that's where I find that it's that sweet spot, right? We also talked about my core message, that things like I really, what distinguishes me is that I provide really intentional and thoughtful branding choices that go beyond just aesthetics. There's lots of people out there that will design you a logo, pick your colors, make it look pretty. But what I do is a lot deeper than that. It's a lot more comprehensive. When I work with a client, it's very collaborative. We dive deep. So that's something I want to talk about in my messaging, is that, these are thoughtful choices. These are intentional choices. And that if you do that, you will attract your perfect fit client with your brand. I also talk a lot about how branding is bigger than a logo. It is an experience you're providing your ideal clients. It's really what sets you apart and distinguishes you in your space. And I have the ability to blend that visual appeal and make it look beautiful with that strategic side, so that, a website isn't just to attract attention, but also convert visitors, right? To turn visitors into clients. And so that's part of what I do. And then for my brand personality, I wanted something feminine, distinctive, elegant. There's a cozy side I like, so that it's still relatable. Like, I didn't want it to be so elegant and high end that it's like that house you walk into where you feel like you can't touch anything or that you don't belong. I still want my ideal client to feel like they belong, but to inspire them to a new level. And I also wanted it to include just a touch of natural. I love the outdoors. That's part of something me and my family are very passionate about. We spend a lot of time out hiking and biking, and where we live is just a beautiful place. And so I kind of wanted to incorporate that because I love the analogy of, plants and nature, like of that growth that occurs within plants and nature, of also applying to business, right? That you want to be thriving, you want to be healthy, you want to grow. So, wanting to incorporate that in a little bit. And then I also talked about my positioning statement, which is more of an internal statement where you really get down to the nuts and bolts. Like, if you just have to boil it down to the simplest thing possible, what you do, who you serve, and what the outcome is. So in my case, it was like Ally Beck Design provides thoughtful and intentional branding and websites to women's service providers so they can stand out as the authority in their space and book more clients, right? Because if you are booking more clients, your business is growing, your business is thriving, you can get to those next level goals that you have. So that's kind of the core of it, right? So now all of this was important before I got to the visual part. And I know it's tempting to dive just into looking at pretty logos and pretty brands and getting inspiration in that way. But a lot of that's just kind of shooting in the dark if you don't have some of the strategic foundation. So I did all of that work first before I even got to the part where we're looking at visuals. And it really helped to guide me, and it really helps kind of take some of the emotion and the subjectivity out of branding when you kind of have something to fall back on. I will say this though, visuals are more than just the cherry on the cake of your brand. It's really interesting. The statistics say that we process visual information within 50 milliseconds. So that is lightning fast. People are in that time frame. People are coming away with perceptions about us as a business owner or a business. They have feelings that come with that because we are all emotional beings, and so you want to make sure that your visuals are in line with the message that you want to send, and that they're attractive to that target market. Because those first impressions matter. And I'm not saying that you have to make it perfect, that your brand has to be like exact, polished, everything wonderful, perfect. Things are going to evolve over time, but we do want to put some thoughtful intent behind it. And it is going to make an influence if you really know what you want your visuals to look like. When someone goes to your website, when someone goes to your Instagram, they're going to come away with those opinions, and you want to be the one to shape them, right? You want to work to create the perceptions that you want to create. So first, I started with a Pinterest board, and I did show you guys this last week, but I will share my screen now and see if I can find which screen it is. Hopefully you can see that. And if you're watching, let me know. But this is where I started, and I just pinned things that had the style that I liked. And I didn't edit myself that much. Like I just like kept pinning things. And this board is much longer than my clients usually create. I usually just ask them to find maybe like 15 to 20 images. But of course, this is what I do. So I dove in a lot deeper here. And I also, in part of my process, I create one of these for my clients as well. So I take what they've done, and I also I have a lot of things that I am looking for specifically when I'm searching for images that I'm able to kind of compile and pull together. So I will often come up with maybe 30 more images on top of what they did, or I'll pull some of theirs in and get just kind of this, broad inspiration with different types of subject matter, different textures here you can see. And again, not editing too much at this point, just pulling in all of the items. This is just brainstorming at this point. So I did that first, and then I went through and I downloaded every single one of these images. So you just go to the image and go to download, or you can take a screenshot too, that works. But once I had gotten all these images together, I pulled them into Canva, and Canva is where I create mood boards, just because it is so simple to drag and drop images into it. Generally, I work in Illustrator and InDesign for my client work, but this is one place that I make an exception just because I'm able to kind of pull some stuff in. So I thought first I would, as I show you some of the mood boards that I came up with, I would show you my existing mood board here first. So this is what I have now here. And you can kind of see like it's got kind of like that pretty modern look, but it really, to me, the longer that I've been in business, I can look now and see it looks very like kind of stock image, right? Like a lot of the images are just kind of like things you'd see on Unsplash or something like that. So it's got like a pretty feel, like nice and airy, and that's good. But I wanted to get kind of a little more refined, a little more specific with my branding visuals than just kind of these generic images. I feel like they're a little bit on the generic side. So I came up with 3 different options. So again, here I imported all the images that I went for, that I was looking for, and then started pulling in some different themes. And you'll see here that the overall arc of the styles is very similar, but they have some distinctions here. And there's a couple things I'm looking for. So here, I'll just show you them all, and then I'll go back and look at what I was doing with each one. So here's option A. And then actually I had 2 of those, but that I forgot to delete. But there's option B. And then here's C. So there's really 3 concepts that I'm working with at this point. So the first one here is this is really more of like kind of that feminine floral look. And there is like sort of like a soft, like little like bit of a boho feel, but I didn't want to go too much in that direction because I do feel like boho is one of those things that is a little trendy, and at some point it's going to go away, and I want my brand to be classic. I want it to last. But there are some things that I like about it. Like I like kind of that cozy feel, and you can kind of see from that living room scene, it is kind of that farmhouse look where it's still classy and refined, but it's got kind of a casual, cozy look. So I have that kind of element in it. And one thing is I knew that green has so much of the color psychology that I want in my brand, that I knew that, that is something I wanted to explore, was using green. I like some of these textures here. They've got kind of that refined look, but also, more natural. I've got plants in here, and, you see a lot of that throughout the photos. But there was just something about this when I pulled these images together. When I'm building a mood board, I'm looking for a few things. So first, I need variety of photo subjects. So some photos will be people, some will be home, some will be like objects like vases or candles or scarves or whatever. Some will be like close-up types of things like some sort of textural thing, because I feel like texture gives a lot of dimension and it also helps with the feeling of a brand. So I spend a lot of time like pulling in individual photos and like seeing how it influences the overall style and look. So often I'll get close on a mood board and I'll be like, okay, this, image maybe isn't quite right. I need to find something different. And so I'll go back and I'll look and I'll search. Sometimes I'll even go back to my mood board and find something else there, or I'm sorry, the Pinterest board, and find something else there that really needs to come in. And so then the second one, I was focusing more on, I wanted there to be it to feel fresh, for it to feel light. And by incorporating some of these other, like the yellows in the photos, I wanted to bring in kind of that brightness. And I love this picture of this woman. She looks very driven. She looks ambitious. And that's kind of like the style that, I want to attract other people that feel that way about their business, that they're not just doing it as a hobby. This is something they're passionate about. So I liked kind of that, but she's also wearing this really cute dress that is very kind of classy. Again, there's some that, kind of comfortable spaces, but also natural. And again, I didn't want to go too far in the area of like classy where it's completely unrelatable, but more inspiring to maybe that next style level. So that was option B. And again, when I first create these, I don't do the colors. So at this point, when I was starting out, I'm just pulling the photos in. I'm leaving the colors be. In fact, these palettes are all black and gray. And that's how I start out. And then that's a second option of this one. And then the last one is kind of a direction that was unexpected. I did this one as sort of an afterthought. I wanted to pull some more natural elements in, again, kind of like calling out to that outdoor part of me personally, because a brand does need to be centered around our target market, but there needs to be elements of you and your personality that you pull in. It doesn't have to be all encompassing. So you are a multifaceted person. You don't have to have all of every aspect of your personality, but sometimes it's kind of fun to pull in some of that. And so I did go more in the direction of like nature, having a beach scene, having these snowy trees, the florals, those kinds of things. And even this house scene has like very much an outdoor view. So, but still having that kind of classy attire of this woman in the corner. And then, really kind of pulling that in. And at first, when I created this one, I wasn't like that crazy about it, but then it sort of came together and I was like, oh, this is a kind of a good prospect. So that's kind of where I started with this one. And then as far as colors, what I do is I will download these boards and then bring them into coolers. And here you can pick colors off of it. And so I've kind of played with some color tones. You can come in here and like, look at different shades of a color, like pull around and look at options that way. You can look at like, again, tints of a color. So I can go darker with color or lighter. And so I brought this in and like this is like kind of the color discovery phase, right? Where I'm just kind of pulling in options for colors. And then I bring them over and put them into the mood board. And then I often refine because once you put them into the mood board, maybe they aren't quite right. You can also do this in Canva. You can use their color picker tool where you grab a color right off the board and, pull it in that way. But I tend to find that Coolers has more powerful color tools that allow me to just kind of get into the nitty gritty of the color. And then I can do refining in Canva. So for my colors, again, these are my originals up here, right? I've got these greens, I've got some blues, and then the blush pink. And, my original thought with that was that I wanted, like, green is very much about growth. And it is kind of a calming color. And blue is about trust. And pink is kind of brought the feminine element in there. So I had some strategy when I originally picked these colors, but I feel like they don't really mesh together. And I've talked before about how I threw in like a bright pink because I needed that for some sales pages. And so now I kind of have a mishmash of colors that don't really match. but I did want to keep the green. I also love the idea of bringing in like a dark, like almost black color, because it is such a refining color. It's kind of associated with luxury, and same with like creams and tans. But I wanted something a little bit on the brighter side, like not like overtly bright, but something that I could use just practically for buttons on my website, or if I wanted some sort of accent, that it wasn't just all like bland neutrals. So that's where I went with this like kind of this rust terracotta color. And then with this one, I even brought in a yellow, which is kind of a unexpected choice given the style, but I did want to experiment with that. So that was kind of where I was thinking with those. And with these, I was like, well, I'm just going to experiment with the blues, because I do think that blue does really capture a lot of the message that I want to send with my brand. But here I lose the green. So it's it's just one of those things you kind of have to think about your priorities here. And choose them based on that. So since I've been doing this for years, I sort of have a little bit of, I can kind of anticipate some of the things that I'm going to need, some of the challenges I'm going to have with color palettes. I know that, it's nice to have some big, bold colors, like dark colors or bright colors. It's nice to have some accent colors. And then it's also really nice to have some light colors. In general, I find that most brands don't. And so that can be challenging when you're wanting to write over the top of something on a website. It's just nice to have the variety. And so that's where I kind of come from when I'm creating a color palette. And then, after I created these boards, I want to make sure that the colors that I'm choosing are in line with my brand strategy. So I can go over and share that with you here. I just kind of had it in like a notes section, like I just pulled it into a document. We'll see if I can find it. But I went through each one of those colors and just looked up what the color psychology was for each one. All of the ones in the various mood boards that I had here. Color psychology research. So there it is. Let me know if you can see that, of course. But so you can see, I mean, this is quite a long document. And here's the thing about color psychology. There's usually a lot of different, things that a color can mean. And there's some negative things a color can mean too. So I always tell clients, like, don't let that completely turn you off of a color. If your overall mood board has the things that you want in it, your palette, then, the negative side is the flip side of it. But you don't have to completely put, like, if you're doing it well with the strategy of your overall palette, then you don't have to worry too much, but it is good to know, right? In case there is something that's really, really totally conflicting in your message. So here you can see, like, I actually look up the specific shades too. So like emerald green is a color that symbolizes balance and harmony. It has associations with nature, renewal, it's, balance, clarity, calm. And then one thing is it really like represents new life and new growth. And that's part of what I love about, and what I do is I do find that when I rebrand someone, it does give them new life. It gives them new growth. It is representative of, like, where it says, like right here, represents new beginnings, and signifies renewal and abundance. And I find that's what happens with my clients, is it is something that brings them abundance, and it's something that gives them like a renewed start to their business, that really where they can step out in confidence. So I love the idea of including that. Another one is, I looked at both rust and terracotta, symbolizes earthiness and stability, nature, strength, reliability. I mean, these are all good things. And then let's see, terracotta, it's kind of like an orange, but it's not as stimulating as maybe a true orange is. It's more like the restful version of a brighter hue. So I kind of like that idea. And again, not all of this is like exactly what I'm going for, but it's not contradicting, right? So tan is a color that's calming, reassuring. It's very neutral, but it also, has a lot to do with like luxury, kind of like that higher end thing, class sophistication. Same with beige. So again, I got into each one of these colors a little bit more, and I was kind of looking through these and I was like, well, I don't want all of my colors to say just one thing. So I do want some diversity of messaging in there. But so that's something to consider as I'm finalizing a palette. But in terms of, color psychology, it is important to kind of look at this. So you can see this is a pretty long document, and this is something I send to my clients. I send them like all the color psychology research so that as they're making a decision, again, what it does is it kind of takes the agonizing over out of it, or it brings in more objectivity, right? Like when you have some objective measures to make choices about colors around your brand, that makes it so much easier than just trying to like force yourself to make a decision about what you like or what you think your clients will like. It just gives you some direction on color choice. And I know for so many people, color choice can be really agonizing. So anything that we can do to make it more objective, to make it more in line with strategy, is just helpful. And then again, you're going to find if that strategy is part of those decisions, you're going to make more decisions that have better results, which is what we want. So this is where I am now with my branding and the visual style that we're going for. I'm still working on kind of refining this, narrowing this down, but I would love your help. I would love your vote. I will post these in the group as well as in the comments here on this live eventually, but I would love for you to tell me like, which one do you like and why? What does each kind of speak to you or say to you? Like, what visual styles, what are the things that kind of stand out to you, or what does it make you feel? I mean, that's what we're going for, right? Is what does this brand make you feel? So I will be posting those and would love your input. Next week, I'm going to be diving into my logo. It may be the following week too. We'll see how things go. I generally take a couple weeks on logo design because logo design can be so tricky. It's like you want to be really simple about it, but being simple can be hard. And so that process can take a little bit of time. And that's something I'll be doing next week coming up. I know that many of you are in a stage where you've had your business for a little while. You're starting to see that traction and that revenue in your business. And you know in your heart, like maybe it's time for you to level up, to take your brand to that next level. Maybe it was something you DIY'd at the beginning and you have something that's like, okay, I have something. Or maybe you were like, I'll just push it off till later. I mean, either way, that's fine, right? You got to where you were, and now you're in a place where maybe you do feel a little bit insecure about it, or you're embarrassed to share your website with people, that it's time to kind of step up and be that CEO in your business. If that's you, raise your hand. I would love to talk with you. And this isn't, when we sit down on a call, it's not like this pushy thing. There's no obligation. It's just where we get a chance to sit down and talk about your vision, your brand, what you're looking for, where you're going with your business, and then see if we're a good fit, because sometimes we're not, and that's okay. I can always send you other resources and direction on where I feel like might be a better fit for you. But if I am, I can always share how I can support you, and I would love to do that. So put call in the comments if that's something you're interested in, and I can follow up with a link to book a call. And then in the meantime, again, love to hear your thoughts on anything I shared today, or any thoughts that might be brewing for you as you're considering your brand. And otherwise, I will see you all soon.